I have been quiet lately because there is something important that you don't seem to realize, or maybe you do realize it, but you haven't wanted to address it head on. You may not notice all the subtle changes yourself, but I have sensed them in the tone of your voice, in the way you hesitate before you speak, in the distance that has crept between us whenever we spend time together. It's like there is a cloud hanging over our heads, a cloud filled with uncertainty about where we stand, about whether our future together is as bright as we once believed. You might think that I haven't picked up on the tension, but I want you to know that I have. I have felt it in the quiet moments when we sit together in the same room, pretending that everything is the same as it always was, even though we both know it isn't. I have noticed the shift in your actions. The small gestures that once showed warmth and security have now become hesitant, as if you aren't sure if you should lean in or pull away. I understand it might not be easy to put those feelings into words, but your behavior has spoken volumes. It speaks of uncertainty, of questioning, of not being entirely convinced that we're on the right path. Sometimes I've wondered if I'm just reading too much into the situation. Perhaps I've asked myself if my own insecurities are causing me to see problems that aren't there. Yet, every time I consider this possibility, I remember how long I've known you and how well I can read the subtle signals you give off. The way you avoid making eye contact for too long, the way you take extra time to respond to messages, or how you politely change the subject whenever the future is mentioned, these are all quiet signs that something is not okay. It's become impossible to ignore the gap between us. That is why I have been so silent. It's not that I have nothing to say, nor is it that I want to shut you out. Rather, I've been holding back, observing, listening to the unspoken words in the spaces between what is said and what is left unsaid. I've sensed your uncertainty about where we're headed. It feels like our future has turned into a puzzle with many pieces missing. I can almost see you trying to figure out if those missing pieces can be replaced or if the puzzle itself will remain unfinished no matter how hard we try. This sort of doubt can be terrifying, so terrifying that it's tempting to keep quiet and hope the tension dissolves on its own. But the truth is, tension rarely just disappears. It lingers in the air, tainting even our happiest moments with the shadow of worry. There have been times when I thought we might talk about it, that we might finally sit down and have an honest conversation. On a few occasions, you seemed almost ready to speak your mind, to open up and share those questions you carry around in your heart. But each time, something stopped you. Maybe it was fear of what I'd say, or fear that saying it out loud would make it real. Maybe you didn't want to hurt me, or you simply didn't know how to formulate the words. Either way, the result was always the same. More silence, more distance, more confusion. I can't pretend that everything is okay when the reality is that we're slowly drifting apart. It's like we're both standing on the same shore, watching the tide go out. We see the water pulling away, revealing more sand than ever before, and yet we just stand there, waiting for the tide to come back on its own. But what if it doesn't? What if the changes we're seeing in each other are signs that our relationship needs attention and care that we're not giving it? I have been waiting, patiently hoping that you would open up and tell me what's on your mind. I want to hear your thoughts, even if they're hard to say. I'd rather know your truth, no matter how painful, than be stuck in this limbo of second-guessing and silent worry. I'd rather confront the reality of our situation and try to work through it together than pretend that nothing is wrong, only to let the distance between us expand until we can no longer bridge it. Your silence has been louder than any words you could say, and it cuts more deeply than you might ever realize. The weight of that silence has made me question whether I should speak up first or continue to wait for you to find the courage to speak for yourself. The reason I pulled back recently wasn't because I stopped caring or because I wanted to hurt you. It was a deliberate choice to give you space, to let you figure out what you really want. I hope that by giving you a little distance, you could gain clarity. Sometimes, the pressure of constant interaction can make confusion worse. So, I stepped back, but it's been painful. I won't lie, I miss the closeness we once shared, the easy laughter, and the unguarded conversations that seemed so effortless. I also need you to know that I am fully aware of everything that's happening between us, even if it's not spelled out in words. This situation is hard for me. I don't enjoy the pretense. I don't like acting as though everything is fine when my heart knows it's not. Every time I look at you, I see a swirl of uncertainty in your eyes. I see someone who is trying to figure out if we still belong together, if we still fit into each other's lives the way we used to. And that realization has left me feeling vulnerable and exposed, as though I'm standing on shaky ground. It's difficult for me to continue pretending that our relationship is unchanged when it's clear we are drifting apart. I have spent many sleepless nights trying to piece together what went wrong, or at least when the shift began. Was it after some disagreement we never fully resolved? Did it creep in slowly, bit by bit, so quietly that neither of us noticed until the tension became impossible to ignore? Or did something in one, or both, of us change, making us realize that maybe the future we envisioned no longer feels quite right? Despite these questions, I remain open-hearted. I still believe that meaningful relationships require honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront the painful truths. I wish I could read your mind so that I wouldn't have to guess what you are thinking. But relationships don't work that way. We don't get to bypass the hard conversations by intuition alone. We need to talk, to lay everything out on the table, to decide whether this love is worth fighting for, and if so, how we can protect it from further harm. I don't want you to feel pressured into a conversation you're not ready for, which is partly why I've held back for so long. But silence can only help for so long before it starts to erode whatever remains of our connection. Each day we don't address the uncertainty is another day we risk letting this distance become permanent. It scares me to think that we could lose what we once cherished, simply because we weren't courageous enough to speak openly. I hope you know that I'm not blaming you entirely. Relationships are never just one person's responsibility, and I am fully prepared to acknowledge whatever role I might have played in creating this situation. Maybe I was too quick to assume everything was fine when the first signs of trouble appeared. Maybe I avoided asking the tough questions out of my own fear. Regardless, I am here now, ready to listen, really listen, to whatever you need to say. I want to hear about your doubts, about your fears, about your vision of the future. And if you are unsure whether our paths align, I want to know that too. Even if it hurts, at least it would give us a place to start. Maybe the next step is to work on rebuilding trust and intimacy. Or maybe it's to come to terms with the idea that we're heading in different directions. Either way, I'd rather know where we stand than continue suffocating under the weight of silence. So, as painful as this is to admit, I must make it clear. I've felt every moment of doubt and distance. I've seen how unsure you have been, and I can't continue to pretend it doesn't affect me. I can't keep going on as though nothing is wrong, when in reality this silence has been reshaping our relationship in ways we both sense but won't fully acknowledge. I'm not writing this letter to accuse you or to make you feel guilty. I'm writing it because I care about you, about us, and about the possibility that our relationship can still thrive if we face these issues head-on. I'm writing it because I believe that open communication is the only path forward, whether that leads us to rekindle the bond we once had, or, if necessary, to part ways with respect and understanding. Please consider my words carefully and understand why I have been so quiet. It's not disinterest. It's heartbreak at the thought that we might be losing something beautiful simply because we can't find the right words. I'm giving you the space you seem to need, but I also want you to know that I'm here, willing to hear you out, willing to walk through whatever darkness we're facing if it means we might come out stronger on the other side. I don't want to pressure you, but I also can't ignore the anguish that silence has caused us both. Whatever you decide, I'm ready to listen. If you still see a future with me, let's talk about how we can nurture it. If you're unsure, be honest. Let's figure out whether we can bridge the gap between us. And if, in the end, we realize our paths no longer converge, then at least we can part with clarity, rather than letting doubt and silence tear us apart in slow motion. I hope you'll trust me enough to share your truth. I'm here, and I'm ready.